thing he said about banks in public in a long time. In a smaller room of 4 or 5, he's far more honest. I'm actually not going to talk about money, to tell you the truth. I suppose what I'm representing the Chamber. We're very conscious that people have called it here after a day's work and they're on the way home, so we want to keep this to the point. I'm representing Athlone Chamber. Some of my colleagues have worked with us on the Hub Committee over the last few years. Email I have in my hand here is dated the 8th September 2011, and Siobhan Bigley, as CEO at the time, had sent it out to us to say we want to get together and talk about a hub. And we met over in Dennis's office over here, and all of our meetings have taken place in Dennis's office. But in 2011, we went down through, we literally started with a blank sheet of paper, and we wrote down various things, you know, who to come in, what cost, what size, all that sort of stuff. We got down to 2 notes I've written here, the end game, right? The number to be supported or housed within the enterprise hub. And finally, the range of services. It's not necessarily a niche sector. Because I suppose on one hand we're calling it HQ, we're calling it digital, we're calling it all that sort of stuff. In my head, and I believe in the board or the committee's head, it's really about supporting somebody who wants to do business, who wants to set up and operate and generate an idea or develop an idea in this location. We haven't actually got the location yet, but we drove around last week with Louise and Martina, John LeGrand and myself, and first of all we were amazed because you actually couldn't get car space inside here. Monksland was very, very busy, and I suppose in some ways one of the things that when you've worked in Athlone, or probably when you've lived in Athlone for a period of time, you actually forget the depth of activity, economic activity that's going on in this town. There are probably 8 to 9 employers with more than 200, possibly more than 300 employees in this town. And I mean west, I mean east, I mean within driving distance of here, which is absolutely unique, absolutely unique. You're talking about going to Galway for that next. You go to Sligo, you go to many other cities that don't have that depth. So really, the location here is ideally set up to tap into that. A colleague of mine, David Tighe, was with me from Bank of Ireland yesterday. It's a new title in the bank. I hadn't met the guy before. Head of Enterprise and Innovation. And his role at the moment is actually working with locations like this to actually get set up, help structure them. In some places they're actually bank rooms and they invite people in. I actually heard about something the bank were doing in Kilkenny, and I said to him, can I meet him and have a cup of coffee? When he came here yesterday and we just chatted through, I sent him the summary document you have there, and he spoke to me about the large employers that are in the area, who are you looking to tap into, and I went down through some of the names. I told him what was happening down here, probably 200 or 300 yards away, and I told him about the number of spin-offs that are in Athlone at various locations around here, which have come from Ericsson or Alkermes or some of the other multinationals. And he said, that's it, that's actually what you're tapping into. You're looking for the next generation of those guys to step out into a room where they're not on their own, they're not in their sitting room, they're actually in a room where they're talking with like-minded people with different ideas, but with like-minded people who probably help them to fester it over a cup of coffee. So, as I say, he's involved at a national level. He's working currently with Limerick, Galway, Kilkenny. I think there's one in Waterford as well. And forget my bank hat. The message that tells me is that lots of other locations are starting to do this as well. The good thing for us is we've already done a feasibility study. Orla has worked pushing things up a hill, water mostly up a hill over the last 3 to 4 years. And we've got to the point where we're actually able to stand here in a room full of influencers and say, do you know what, there's the genesis of an idea here. It's now more than a concept. It's actually something that hopefully with the help of some of the bodies who have spoken to us over the last few weeks, that we'll be able to drive it on. The reason I'm talking is because as a chamber and as a committee, we need help to drive it on. We need support to drive it on. So what I'd ask of you is, if you're in a position to give of your time, it might only be an hour every fortnight. It might be more, it might be less. But you might have an idea, you might have something to offer. Don't expect somebody else to do a better job than you would do. In many ways, the idea you might have might be the little bit that breaks it for us. So please, get involved. I know Dennis has said there's a sheet out here for names and contact details. If your name is on that, if you come back to any of the people standing up here, I'm in Bank of Ireland in Church Street, Athlone. John McGrath's at the Chamber. If you come back through us, and if you want to give a hand, if you want to help this get along, I suppose we have an opportunity here to take advantage of a position that we're in at the moment. We're ahead of the posse. We'd like to stay ahead of the posse. We'd like to make sure that this neck of the woods, this locality, Roscommon, Athlone, whatever this location is, and I'm not political in any way, and I'm not thinking about chambers in either direction or county councils in either direction. I suppose really what we're hoping is that people who want to work here can actually come and work here. So we'd like you to give us a hand to make that happen. Okay? That's really it. I think in terms of the funding, from what I've heard and from the brief discussions with Orla at an early stage, from what I heard from my colleague yesterday, I think if you have the right model, you'll get the support. I think we have the right model. Based on what he said to me, we probably have a better model than a lot of people are starting out now. So I'd be a lot more confident about the success of this thing than I was certainly 3 years ago, certainly in September 2011. So it's great that we're actually standing here in a room full of you. I was interviewed on television here a few minutes ago to talk about this. I mean, Mother of Jesus tonight. Who would have thought that? Different stages along the way. Now it's not going out until June. It's going Ireland Channel 191. I'll text you all when the date is when it's coming up. But it actually just goes to show that if we had tried to do this 4 years ago, if we had tried to make this happen 4 years ago, there probably wouldn't have been that enthusiasm there for it. There is now. Let's keep it going.